Hi, my name is Julia. Welcome back to my channel. If you don't know, I have a new title now. I saw someone on the internet the other day say that they're a retired TikToker. And I guess I'm a retired bookstagrammer, and it feels really good to say. Might be the closest thing I'll ever get to retiring in the United States of America. I took a really long 6-month break from Bookstagram because I got to a point after 3 years of posting on Bookstagram every single day where I felt like it wasn't adding any value to my life anymore. And I'm almost 30, and I feel like I have to do things creatively or consume content that makes me feel good, and Bookstagram wasn't doing that anymore. Not only it wasn't giving me good recommendations anymore, but it was also making me feel like shit all the time. There's always some kind of drama, some problem with who you're reading, what you're doing. It became less and less and less about books and more about talking about other people. My goal is to completely get to the point where I can delete Instagram, because going on this like 6-month cleanse also made me realize how much better my life is without scrolly types of social media. But I feel like I could not step away from Bookstagram without a final goodbye per se. So today I selected a couple of screenshots from a couple of reels that I came across on my final day of scrolling through Bookstagram to see if anything had changed. Spoiler alert, nothing changed. I was gone for 6 months and people were still talking about the same things, the same drama, the same people, the same ideas, and it drove me insane. I'm not gonna lie to you. But I collected a couple of hot take Bookstagram reels to see what people are thinking and talking about. And of course, take this with a grain of salt because it was my algorithm. So it was obviously directed to me and to the things that I possibly like lean towards. But I just thought that, as a final goodbye to my Bookstagram career, I could go through these hot takes that I've seen posted and just, give you my opinion on them and tell you if I agree with them or not. And maybe make a list of all the reasons why I decided to give up on Bookstagram and why I feel like I'm done. And let me make something clear. I'm obviously not done with reading communities because I am starting this channel and I want to keep up with it and I want to create a community of people who like to read somewhere else. I've been a reader most of my life, ever since I learned how to read. But before the pandemic, like every other human being on this planet, I used to read a lot of horror, thriller, mysteries, middle grade, YA, very little bit of fantasy, but not romance. And I only started reading romance after I joined Bookstagram, because once you join, that's what you're bombarded with. That's what they recommend. One after the other, the same 10, 15, 20 books. And they've been talking about these 10, 15, 20 books for the past 5 years. So let's just jump straight into it. I'm trying to decide if I want to expose the accounts that I took screenshots of. I didn't download the actual reel because I wasn't sure if these creators were okay with that. But also I want to make sure that I don't drive any hate towards these people. Like, I don't know who they are. I swear to God, I grabbed very random screenshots from very random subjects and topics that I thought would be cool to discuss. And I don't even remember half of them because I did that like 3-4 days ago. So please do not go after these people. Do not go attack them, contact them if I agree with them or if I disagree with them or if you agree or disagree with them. This is supposed to be a friendly conversation where I will give you how I feel about these subjects. So the first one is realizing I don't hate romance books just because they're repetitive or poorly written, but because society has conditioned me to believe that because love is unimportant to men, it is inherently silly and stupid. So she starts by saying that she just realized she doesn't hate romance books because they're repetitive or poorly written. So you agree that nowadays romance books are repetitive and poorly written. While I was on Bookstagram, I had a business. I was a developmental editor for indie authors and published authors, and I worked with incredible, amazing authors, and I'm so grateful that I got the chance to do that. But it came to a point where we realized, or the industry, this is not the author's fault. The industry realized that TikTok and Bookstagram sell books, and they started publishing books based on TikTok following, which is a reality now. Like, you will get a book deal if your TikTok following is really, really big. And they started publishing books based on tropes. The tropification of Bookstagram and Book Talk and romance novels is something people talk a lot about. If you're an adult and you already had your Wattpad phase, it's really difficult for you to connect with books that are being currently released. One, they all have a lot of erotica. Two, they don't have any plot. Three, they don't have any character development whatsoever. They are being poorly edited, poorly written because the industry is forcing these authors and these people and giving money to the wrong sources to publish as many TikTok books or book talk books as they possibly can. As always, the goal is money. And now, unfortunately, half of Barnes & Noble, when you walk into Barnes & Noble, you already hit with the book talk table, and it feels like you're walking into a physical version of Wattpad or AO3 where tropes are being listed on book tags. I'm happy to see that we're all on the same page, that currently published books are all repetitive and poorly written. Is that the end of the world? Is that a problem? Not really. It's just inconvenient for people who want to find something else to read, or for people who have different tastes, or for people, like I said, who already have gone through their Wattpad phase, okay? If most of us have gone through it, we are tired of excessive erotica. We want, well-developed worlds. We want well-fleshed out fantasy worlds, and even created a new genre called romantasy to be able to say, well, the fantasy world and the magic system is not as well fleshed out because there's romance in it, And I feel like that does a disservice to the romance genre, because the romance genre is a strong genre. The problem is that we are watering it down to nothing to attract masses, to attract money, to attract TikTok teenagers. And then, you can never tell if you're picking up a romance novel that is going to have 80%, smut, or if it's going to have well-written characters. It's a gamble. You don't know what you're going to get. But if you see the cartoon covers, you're probably not going to have high expectations, let's be honest. But then right after that, she also says, well, it's not only because the books are poorly written and repetitive that, I thought I hated romance, but it's because society conditioned me to believe that love is unimportant to men and it is inherently silly and stupid. I am a feminist, okay? I truly agree that there are a lot of things that if they are female-centered, people consider them to be inherently childish and stupid. Like Taylor Swift. If you like Taylor Swift, you're seen as like a fangirl who is vapid and has nothing to offer to the world. If you like romance novels, you're seen as a silly, stupid girl who only cares about people kissing. I get it. I'm right there with you. I understand that. But to say that love is unimportant to men, it is such a reach, because some of the most romantic novels with the most incredible couples I've ever read have been written by men. Like, hello, Game of Thrones, Red Rising, Brandon Sanderson books. So it's like, I'm sorry, I do not see eye to eye with you on that one. I think it's a reach. I think it's unbelievably wrong. I think we're in 2025 and we have to stop pushing this narrative that love is unimportant to men, because that is also a disservice to men. We are trying to raise boys in this generation that understand that it's okay for them to be emotional, that it's okay for them to be in love, that it's okay for them to cry, that it's okay for them to, be creative and write their own novels and create fantasy worlds. Not that they didn't know that before, but there is this stigma on top of boys that they're only supposed to like the manly stuff and swords and guns and fighting and blood and video games, and they deserve to enjoy romance as well. It shows to me that this person does not read outside of her comfort zone and does not often read books and fantasy novels written by men. We should try our best to put all of our money and all of our attention into the things that are currently well written, well edited, well developed, to show the industry that we want more, we deserve more, we need more. I even read somewhere that Netflix, because of our phone addiction, Netflix has been dumbing down their TV shows, because people usually watch Netflix with, while they're scrolling on their phones. So they decided to make dialogues and movie scenes repetitive in a way that people will not miss anything while they're scrolling down and can still follow through whatever's happening on screen. I feel like that is what is happening to books nowadays. Everything is dumbed down. It's a watered down version because we have the attention span of a goldfish, and because people are lazy, and because they want to publish books as fast as they possibly can, and because we are not asking for more. And we should be asking for more. We should be asking for better quality content from content creators online as well. Like lazy, you can tell when a piece of content is lazy content. Another reason why I decided to step away from Bookstagram was because I fell into that hole as well of posting what I knew was going to be well received. When it was like, quick, review this book as fast as you possibly can before people scroll away, or like talk about whatever everyone else is talking about as fast as you possibly can, so like you don't lose their attention, or so you stay relevant. You gotta be reading Quicksilver, you gotta be reading, the Romancy, you gotta be talking about 6 foot tall, like dark men, otherwise people are not gonna give you the time of day. And I was like, I can't fake interest anymore into all of that crap. I am 30. Okay, I've been there, done that. I need more sustenance. I need more substance into the things I am reading, consuming, watching, and creating. And I realized that by consuming stuff that wasn't giving me a lot of value, I was also putting out things that didn't add any value to other people's lives. Not that this is going to add any value to your life, but I don't know. I like conversation, okay? And maybe you're going to feel like you're having a good conversation with me today. Maybe this is going to plant a seed of thought in your head. Maybe this is going to inspire you to write a book that's actually good. We can only pray and hope. Next one is a little bit heavy, so let's go. Romanticizing the R word in any form of media is bad. It should not be sold under the disguise of romance, not even in dark romance books, especially between the love interests. I am someone who loved reading horror novels and thrillers and mysteries. When I started reading romance, I jumped straight into dark romance, right? Because it's a mix of both. You get very dark themes and, a little bit of gore here and there, and then you get the couple as the main storyline. Ever since dark romance kind of blew up on Book Talk and Bookstagram, people started sharing the opinion that they're just romanticizing the R word, because a lot of these books started containing NCN, is that what it's called? Non-consensual consent scenes for people who like getting kinky. And one of the most popular novels ever written in the Bookstagram and Book Talk sphere was Hunting Adeline. Is it Haunting Adeline? Haunting Adeline. Where the female main character stalks her and forces himself on her, and she is kind of okay with it, but kind of not, but then she finds it hot, and then you can't really tell. I believe this author became a millionaire, and it's one of the best-selling, Book Talk books, and it was put in every bookstore around the country, and even libraries, and people love it. And there are people who feel very strongly about the idea of romanticizing this kind of behavior. But let's be honest, the stalking thing, like, we started way back when with Edward Cullen, right? Like, Edward Cullen was written by a Mormon girl, and he was still stalking her. So, like, I really don't know. Like, it's been there. But it's still fiction, right? So when I think about all of this, the one thing that matters the most to me in this creative world, in this creative sphere, is freedom of speech. Regardless of who is writing it, regardless of who is publishing it, you can make the decision to put the book down. And you can also make the decision to talk about how harmful that rhetoric could be. But you cannot stop an author from writing about it. So I'm sorry, I don't see the end of non-consensual consent scenes in romance novels. I don't think that we should vouch for it either. I think that you should just put the book down and go find something that is more your pace. Anything can be romanticized if you think about the word romanticize, but nowadays I feel like the word romanticize is just like a buzzword that everyone throws out there for nothing. Like, oh, Game of Thrones romanticizes, child, like infanticide. The one that I hear the most, it's like, It Ends With Us romanticizes domestic violence, which I disagree, by the way. I think that it's a woman going through domestic violence, and she is trying to show people how hard it is to leave, and she's trying to show people that it takes effort and strength and whatever. I'm not a huge Colleen Hoover fan, but I do think that people just hate on her so excessively. And it's like, bro, calm down, go touch some grass, like just put the book down and go read something else, So yes, you can throw that word out there as many times as you want. That's why reading is so important, because reading opens conversation. Like, we wouldn't even have started the conversation with young girls about what kind of relationship is normal to expect, what kind of, what consent is and it isn't, what lines you should cross or shouldn't cross, or how can you identify if you're safe in a relationship. None of these conversations would keep happening or would have started without hunting Adeline. So sometimes, even when a piece of media or literature disgusts you and makes you think that it's terrible, it's awful, it shouldn't be out there, it should. It should have the right to exist. And that's the end of sentence. Because if we tell this piece of media that it doesn't have the right to exist, then who is controlling that? Who is telling us what can be written or not? Who is telling us what can be said or not? Who makes those decisions? So that's when I get a little like scared, like a little 1984 type of scared. I don't want people telling me what to read and what not to read. I'm okay with people sharing with me their dissatisfaction. I'm okay with people sharing with me how harmful they think a piece of content is. I'm okay with all of that. But I think that we need to kind of like step on eggshells a little bit here, and recognize that it's important for a piece of media to exist so we can create conversations around it. And those conversations are what's going to change the reality of our society and how we interact with each other and how we live. One of my favorite books I've ever read is called My Dark Vanessa. And trigger warnings here because it is very tense, but it covers that sphere. It covers all of these subjects that Lolita covers, where this young girl, falls in love with her teacher, and he basically ruins her life because he is the one that holds all the power, all the knowledge, and it portrays him as this like insecure, weak little bastard, and I love that. And I love that she basically created a manual of how to spot if you're being taken advantage of. And I feel like My Dark Vanessa would be an incredible high school read. So girls and boys alike know how to tell when they're being told, oh, you're too smart, for your age. I feel like you're, much older than you are. That's not the compliment that you think it is. All of these conversations are so exciting and so important. Yes, let's keep talking about it, but let's not forget that we can't stop these pieces from coming out. Let's go to the next one. Possibly not a hot take, but I think the reason why so many movies have felt stale or boring is not because they have the same story, but because they have the same theme. The same few morals are put on cycle to teach viewers lessons they've already learned, so they bring nothing new and thus offer nothing to think about. What happened to writers taking risks and tackling difficult themes? What happened to thinking outside the box? And I feel like this is exactly the same thing we've been talking about this whole video. Social media happened. Our goldfish attention spans, they know they're going to make money regardless, and they are okay with watering down everything because we are okay consuming it. There's even a comment under this video that says, books are falling victim to the same thing every other art form is falling victim to: capitalism. They know people don't buy based on plot or quality anymore. They want the same tropes and characters and phrases over and over again. In music, in books, and digital art, it's the easiest to produce and the easiest to sell. Money strips the soul. I feel like a broken record, but that's pretty much it. That's what's been happening to all of us, and only we can stop it, right? Next one, kind of on the same theme, crashing out because why have we normalized plotless books becoming bestsellers solely because of the morally gray 6-foot man with abs? Some people skip their Wattpad phase, and it shows, and I said that in the beginning of this video too. It's because Sarah J. Maas became incredibly wealthy with this recipe, which I believe she took from Anne Bishop. Also, by the way, people talk about all the time how she took inspiration from Anne Bishop, and I actually really like Anne Bishop now. I only started reading Anne Bishop because people started telling me, ACOTAR is a copy of Anne Bishop's whatever series, you gotta read it, and I started reading it, and now I'm completely obsessed with Anne Bishop, and I think she's incredible. But it's because the recipe worked, and publishers want money. And if you are an indie author who is also publishing using the same tiresome thing over and over again, the 6-foot, dark-skinned abs man or whatever. It dumbs it down. I feel insulted every time I come across another one of those, because it's like, what do you think I am? How many more times do you think I can consume this type of content? I know a lot of people love reading the same thing over and over again, and like, good for you, but like, I feel insulted as a reader. My intelligence feels insulted. And I know that all of these romance authors collectively can do better, because I have hope that all of these women are way smarter than they give themselves credit for, and they should put more effort. But I feel like we are stuck again in a society, in a community, in a social media era where everything needs to come out like this as fast as possible. 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 12 books a month or a year. Or like, bookstagrammers, book talkers, YouTubers are doing book reviews of like, here are the 48 books I read this month. Here are the 127 books I read this year. And I'm like, girl, what are we, a factory? Like, give me a fucking break. I already work 9 hours a day. Can I just read one book a month and call it a day? Like, what is this? Why do we need to keep competing like this? And again, if reading 40 books a month is a comfortable pace for you, good for you. Like, don't wear the hat if it doesn't fit. You know what I mean? Like, if it makes you happy and if it's great for you, good for you. We are human beings. We are little silly little nature creatures. We need more from this provincial life. Okay. Anyways, did I even complete my train of thought? I don't know. I have ADHD, guys. Can you tell? Have you noticed? Is it easy to see? Is it easy to, I don't know, probably. But let's move on to the next one. I need to know how we're feeling about spice and romanticy. What is your name? Gabriella. Do you want to know how I'm feeling, Gabby? Can I call you Gabby? That was probably way too friendly and way, that was uncalled for. I'm not your friend and you don't know me and you probably don't want to be called Gabby. But you don't know how I'm feeling? I'm fucking done. I want to delete my bookstagram. That's how I'm feeling. I'm a married 30-year-old woman. Okay. I just don't, I miss, people don't know how to write tension anymore, because book talk is fully made of people have not had their Wattpad and AO3 phase, and that's all they want. They want erotica on page 3, on page 10, on page 20, 15, 34, 48, 55, and they do not care if the characters make sense. They do not care if there is plot. They do not care if there's character development. They do not care if the world building is they do not care about any of that. Okay? And I do. And it's not like this is a problem. It's not a problem. It's such a like first world, trouble. Like, it's not a problem. The problem is just an inconvenience for people who want to find something new to read. It's an inconvenience. It's so difficult for me to find a book to give 5 stars to. I think that I've only given 2 5-stars out this entire year, or maybe 3. You can tell when these scenes are there. They're not there to push the plot forward. They're not there to, give a 2-dimensional character 3 dimensions. They're not there to help the story in any way. It is not serving a purpose. And I'm okay with it existing. I'm okay with it being there. And I just can't do it anymore. I'm just bored out of my fucking mind. And I probably already mentioned this, but I feel insulted as a reader. I feel like I'm smarter than this. I feel like these authors are way smarter than this. And, we're stripping out the soul of everything that we're putting out, every type of content, rather that be a book, a YouTube video, an Instagram reel, or a movie or a Netflix show or whatever it is. And we're stripping out the soul of everything for the sake of convenience and money, and I am tired of it. And I'm okay. I haven't read a romance novel in maybe like a year, and I don't miss it, because the new ones coming out are just more of the same, and I need something a little better. But I've been on the search. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been searching. I'm not gonna give up. I love romance. I love romance as a subplot, because we made the center of it all, right? But like, I still need that juicy plot. I still need the good secondary characters. I still need really great world building. I feel like all the things that we discussed in this video today can and will be used as a reason when I explain to people why I'm a retired bookstagrammer and why I'm done with it. I do have a couple of honorable mentions for things that I want to share here that annoyed me the most, and it's just like this hypocritical vibe that I get from the community in general. 2 of the things that piss me off the most. The first one is that in the last couple of years, Book Talk and Bookstagram have always had this feminist tone, right? Like we're all feminists. We all love female main characters in the center of their stories, but then I am not for a feminism that tears down man. I think I can separate the two because I've mentioned this multiple times on my Instagram before. I love men. I am married to one. My dad is a man, believe it or not. My grandfather was a man. I am surrounded by male friends who I adore and respect. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I understand. Yes, we have come really far because we had to fight for our rights. I am a woman. I know I'm in the club. I'm dressed like I've been a woman my entire life. I know how difficult it is to be a woman. I want to keep fighting for our rights for the rest of my life and speaking for us and defending us and voting for us. Like that is my one goal in life. And I know that men have their privilege and I know that men have, like been there, done that. And I agree that we live in a patriarchal system. I know all of that, okay? I have a nephew, okay? I want to grow. I want to help raise this future generation of men. If I have boys, when I have kids, hopefully I'll be able to have children at some point in my life. I would love to. I've done that before. While I was dating man and like living with man and got married to one, I've done that. I'm guilty of being like, fuck man, I hate man, men are the worst, man or a bear, I want the, you know what I mean? Like, I understand the sentiment, but I'm also, I don't want to keep doing it. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get canceled for this. First video, we're canceled. Bye. And the videos that I was going to bring up was the reels of everyone is like, the only time I like men is the fictional ones. The only time I'm okay with men is my book boyfriends. It is so hypocritical to me because, first of all, book talk and romance communities or book romance communities only talk about sex all the time. Only care about their 9 foot, book boyfriends who has abs and whatever. And, we're all like reading these self-insert romance novels where there's no afterthought other than I think Henry Cavill is hot and I want to imagine myself fucking him, and then all these books are put together because of that one thing and that one guy and that one, the physical appearance. And I feel like the more I started reading romance novels, the men are so dumbed down and watered down in these novels. Like they're only there to be, a piece of meat and whatever. And we have criticized male authors for doing that forever, right? Like they talk about boobs bobbing and they talk about, they don't know how to write a woman, but we don't know how to write men either. We have, we need to learn as well. If we want to talk shit on men writing, boobs bobbing and boobs having feelings and being able to tell the weather.
58 degrees and there's a 30% chance that it's already raining.
Like Gretchen, we are so critical of men when it comes to writing and how men only, but we don't read men enough to know. Second, when we do read it and we criticize it, then we ended up doing the same thing. Like we're writing about 6 foot guys that, are grumpy and have abs and have massive schlongs, and their schlongs could it's the size of your forearm, and you're like, oh my God, is that gonna even fit in me? Like that's half of the romance novels nowadays. But then listen to this. On the same breath, who started realizing that book talk was too horny for their own good? Men. They started joining Bookstagram and Book Talk. And then they, male narrators started coming to our spaces. And, I have nothing against male narrators, but, audiobook narrators started narrating all of the erotica, sexy novels. And the female community started harassing those men to the point where if they went to a book event, they had to call the police. So it's like, there was this drama at some point on TikTok with this book talk creator where she started reading hockey romances at the same time they became popular. And then they started harassing actual hockey players who had wives and families, and they started, they double it down on it, and they were talking, constantly sexually harassing those men allegedly. I wasn't on Book Talk at the time. I just heard it through the grapevine from Bookstagram. And that horniness was so intense, and they were so quick to condemn men in their spaces and hate men in their reels, and talk about how much men are worth nothing and we should get rid of all men. And then more men started noticing the attention that they would get, and then they started cosplaying as some of these characters. You should see the comment section of those guys who cosplay as like Rysand, Reese's Pieces. I don't know. I don't care what he's called. You should see the comment sections. It's insane. They're rabid. They're absolutely rabid. And then there was another instance where these guys, and I'm gonna have to put a photo for this one, okay? I don't know this guy. I have no idea who he is. He's probably a very nice man. He's probably very genuine. I don't watch his content. I don't follow him. While I was going on this scroll to find these things to talk about, his video popped up, and he sits inside of this truck, and he's like all rugged and dirty, and he's on a farm, and he has an Australian accent, and he talks about the books he's reading, and he cries on camera, and he talks about all of these things, because of course I went through his page to learn more. The comment section is wild, and these guys come onto the spaces of the space of Bookstagram and Book Talk, and they gain like 1 million followers in an instant. And guess what kind of romance novels are popular right now? Cowboy romances, farm guys, and that's what's popular right now. So they're catching on, and they're like, just like the OF girls who are like, why would I not do this if I'm gonna get all of this attention and money? I'm just gonna do it. You're the one like, you're helping me profit off of this because you're giving me the attention. So, I don't blame them. Like, go you. Like, that's smart. You just use these girls, use them. You're infiltrating into this community because they're letting you, because they're allowing you. When on the same breath, they're talking shit about men, and they would rather pick and saying that they would rather be stuck in the forest, in the woods with the bear than with a man. But then if a man joins Book Talk and Bookstagram, they're like, oh my God, oh my God, a man. And I'm like, I'm not that sensitive. I'm just level-headed, okay? I love all the men in my life. I respect all the men in my life. I have been loved and cherished by all the men in my life, and I love men, and I've been reading male authors for a really long time. These book talkers and bookstagrammers go as far as saying like, we don't read books written by men here. Then you harass them sexually when they post online. Is that what you do? Is that how you want to go about this? It's embarrassing, girl. I'm sorry. Just stop. It's so embarrassing. So that the hypocrisy and the contradictions of it all is what pissed me off the most. I'm like, I don't belong here. and I don't know anything about booktube, so like this is gonna be, I'm trying to insert myself into this community. I don't watch a lot of booktubers, and I plan to start. I don't know how different booktube is. I have no idea. Okay, so like, I'm not judging booktube here or romance booktubers. I'm just talking about what I know and what I personally experienced. And the other thing that became really popular now is these like creators that I want to say pretend, because I've noticed some of them know the twist of a book. So they start the videos that get the most attraction right now or my first time reading X series, my first time reading Harry Potter. I did that and I got like thousands of followers. Like, people love watching you try something new for the first time. And then my first time reading Percy Jackson, and my first time reading this and that. But then there's a group of creators who started filming themselves reading a series for the first time. Nothing about their reactions are genuine, and people still eat it up. People still love it. They scream, and I mean scream, cry, sob, snot coming down their noses, throw the book away, rip the book in half, and scream at your face to the point that, like, if you're scrolling through the reel, you have to, like, bring the volume down. Sob. Absolutely sob. Like someone just killed their dog sob. And I've noticed a couple of times where these people would, like, start screaming about the twist, and it sounded like they already knew the twist. You know what I mean? Can you tell? I don't know how people can't tell. To see these videos go viral, like viral to the point where these people go on television, like national television. And I am shocked that people cannot tell that it's not genuine. I really don't know how people can't pick up on the performance of it all. And it's that's the word that I was looking for. The performance. I am tired of the performance. Everything is performative. And I'm not even saying here that reading is performative. I love that people are reading more. I recognize that Book Talk and Bookstagram have brought millions of people back into reading, and I think that that's something to be celebrated. I think that it's something that's so important, regardless of what you're reading. I think reading is one of the most important things in the world. It's how people are gonna regenerate and like kind of like grow their empathy again, and I think we need that today more than ever. And we're living in scary times, and I love that more people are reading. I really, really do. I swear to you. And I would never think to, unless I've been filming myself like this the whole time and I start crying here in front of you, I've been filming for a full hour, okay? And then I'm gonna sit down and edit this video later. If something that I'm talking about chokes me up and brings me to tears, I can understand that. But reading a book, closing the book, picking up your phone, setting it up somewhere, making sure that tears don't stop streaming from your face to start recording yourself. And I'm like, yikes, you gotta have a lot of energy to do that. And I'm just like, I just can't be that performative. I can't be the person screaming and clapping like a fucking clown in front of a camera. Like doing this is very difficult for me. I try my best to do to be myself and not, because I think I mentioned that in another video of mine as well, that once you put up a persona and once you start putting up a performance, making content becomes exhausting because you can't just sit down and be yourself, right? Like you can't just sit down and just be who you are. So every time you have to set up a camera, you have to be someone you're not. You have to become something new, and you have to keep entertaining, and you have to become a circus clown. And I can't do the circus clown thing. So if this is your first time watching this channel, if you're new to me and if you don't know who I am, don't expect sobbing videos. Like if I'm finishing a book and I'm crying, I will tell you later that I cried. But I want to still experience that by myself. It is okay for some things to be left out of social media. It is okay for some things to not be filmed. But when I started seeing people falling for that lack of genuineness and for that fake, like screaming, crying, sobbing, throwing up, crying, I was like, maybe I'm timed out. Maybe I need to go touch some grass. I think it's time. I think it's time for me to take a 6-month break from Instagram. I think it's time for me to move on because I am not getting anything of value out of this place. So yeah, that was my video for you as a retired book talker or as a retired bookstagrammer. That is why I retired, and that is why I'm done. And that is why I'm going to try to put some effort into creating some content for this channel that resonates with me, that I feel like I am sharing something that, sparks a conversation. Right now, I'm currently working on a reading vlog because I've never done that before. Please bear with me while I learn, because I feel like I'm learning. Like I'm still pretty bad at editing. I'm still pretty bad at recording and setting all of this up. So please bear with me as I grow and try to do this the right way. And then I'm also thinking about recording a book crawl because I live in San Francisco. So it's the most magical, wonderful place on earth. And I would love to take you places and show you my favorite bookstores. I want to say, don't expect 45 reading wrap-up books. I don't read 45 books a month anymore. I used to. I did that for a while with Bookstagram. And I realized that I don't want to be a factory worker. I already work 9-hour days. I'm okay with reading and still making time for my other hobbies, and maybe I'll share some of them with you if you're interested, like puzzles and watercolor and video games, and I'm okay with reading a book a month or reading 2 books a month, and maybe at the end of the year talking about the 10 books I read this year. I feel like it's so important because reading for me as a hobby, it is meant to help you slow down, right? It's almost like meditation. You're sitting down and you're trying to stay still and enter into this world. So it is a form of meditation to me, at least. I'm not going to sit here and read 35 of them. I'm not going to do anything compulsively anymore. I refuse to let compulsion take over my life. And that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to give up on Bookstagram or Instagram in general as my main social media, because I'm tired, but I still want community. I still want to reach out to people. I still want to to connect with people. I still want to find people who like the same things that I like. So if you are down for something slow paced like that, you know, like not that many reading or book reviews a year, you can follow me on Goodreads. I have two Goodreads account now. One that is for more like serious reviews. I started a new Goodreads account because I wanted to see if I was going to get more direct recommendations, you know, like with my new reading taste that has developed throughout the years, and now I know exactly what I want. But then I have my old Goodreads account where I post very silly, funny reviews talking shit about book talk books, but I haven't done that in a while because, again, I want to read things that I love. I'm so tired of reading things I know I'm going to hate. So, even, you know, we're constantly learning and growing and aging. It's such a privilege. Thank you for watching this video if you made it all the way to the end. And if you like this, let me know. If you would like me to do another one of these, knowing that I won't be on Instagram anymore, you're gonna have to take these screenshots and send it my way. Find a way to send these to me, and maybe I can do another one where we can discuss all of these little things that have been moving and changing and happening in the book world and the publishing industry. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.